Hello. Thank you again for joining for another episode with Investing with All I See is W. Today I wanted to create this video to share with you why I feel Inovio Pharmaceuticals is going to take off soon. But before I'd like to begin, I'd like to inform you that everything in this video in terms of content should be used as guidance only before you make any investment decisions. Alright, let's get started. So what is so unique about Inovio Pharmaceuticals and why am I so all in on this company, right? Inovio Pharmaceuticals is a biotechnology company based in San Diego, California, where they are working on a potential COVID-19 vaccine, leveraging DNA medicine-based technology to come up with a vaccine that is going through clinical trials right now for potential approval for use in the United States for commercial distribution. And when you think about it, of all the current companies right now that in terms of competitors, you'll see companies like Moderna, which uses a different set of technologies such as RNA, and you have other companies such as University of Oxford in partnership with AstraZeneca. You'll hear other companies like Johnson & Johnson coming out with a potential vaccine as well. But when you think about it though, you've never really heard of like J&J being branded with coming up with effective vaccines. It's just like news just came out just recently that this was all was going to happen out of nowhere. You know, I tend to think of like Johnson & Johnson as like, you know, like the baby powder and the band-aids, but not so much geared towards, you know, vaccine production. But who knows, right? Change of initiatives may have occurred. And you know, with Moderna is a recent company that had just became famous. You know, without the COVID-19 coming out in play, I don't think they would get so much recognition as much as how they are today. But you know, when you look at a company like, you know, a hidden gem company like Inovio Pharmaceuticals, you'll notice that this company has been around for many years now. And with Joseph Kim, the CEO of the company, he's been around supporting the company for up to 20 years now. And the fact that he's been around for this long, and the fact that, you know, he actually invested more when Inovio Pharmaceuticals was able to identify the construct within 3 hours after using the data provided from the scientists from China and coming up with, you know, the vaccine 4800 INO. That's so unique because, you know, using their technology and coming up with a potential solution in 3 hours, that's fascinating. And when you look at, you know, where Inovio is right now in terms of its performance, right now it just recently passed phase 1 clinical trials with a total of 40 healthy patients being evaluated. Now, the good thing that came out from that clinical trial study was the fact that, you know, there were minimal safety concerns. So the key thing with, you know, phase 1 is making sure that your vaccine works, it doesn't cause any harm or injuries. And the good thing was, you know, no one was injured, you know. And when you look at Moderna, on the other hand, you'll notice, you know, there were some serious injury reports filed, and that's only just with 40 healthy patients. Now with phase 2 clinical trials, it's a little bit different because now the criteria changes, where you have to look at safety and efficacy in a trial that is looking at unhealthy patients, as opposed to in phase 1 it's basically all healthy patients. So the question is, you know, will there be any increase in the helper T cell production, right, given that these are now unhealthy patients as opposed to healthy patients? So your data might be showing a difference with your phase 2 clinical trials run with an increase in patient population and a difference in selecting unhealthy patients, right? So that's going to be interesting when we position ourselves, you know, with respect to time, and we see how these companies play out in phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials. And it would be interesting, you know, like if or when the Food and Drug Administration or other health authorities leverage the emergency use authorization. And one advantage that Inovio has over its competitors is the fact that, you know, currently it has not only clinical trials happening in the United States, but clinical trials is also occurring in the international markets, which can play a big benefit to the company, because from a regulatory perspective you can file a regulatory submission to the Food and Drug Administration using data sets from different countries. That's possible, right? So that's one of the other benefits why I see Inovio has better positioning than its competitors. Okay, and one advantage that I see with Inovio Pharmaceuticals is the fact that it had recently gained support from the government. For example, the Department of Defense granted $71 million to support with the production of the Selectra device. So what the Selectra device is, it's about a size of a toothbrush. It's a device that goes over a patient's arm after injected with the INO 4800, and what it does is it delivers the method of electrophoration to optimize the efficacy of the vaccine, so that the vaccine can go intracellularly, so that its proprietary design of the vaccine with the partial plasmid entering your innate human physiological response, and then you're able to identify that as a foreign source, and your body will then automatically develop helper T cells and neutralizing antibodies for that virus. So at any point in time when you do expose yourself with the true coronavirus, you're basically immune to it, right? And that's the whole purpose of the DNA vaccine. And I feel like Inovio has just a wide range of different vaccines to combat, not only the SARS-CoV-2, but the MERS, the SARS, all the different cancerous bad cells out there and viruses out there, and I firmly believe, the current vaccine in phase 3 clinical trials for female cervical dysplasia, if or when we hear good results on phase 3, that's going to be the very first marketed product for Inovio Pharmaceuticals, and I feel like once that happens, that will validate the whole entire DNA product platform, right? So that's one thing to look at as well, and especially with the Department of Defense taking on the position to produce the Selectra device, I think of that as an accessory. So an accessory to me is something like a diabetic patient would experience. So diabetic patients would have to test their blood every day and use a glucose meter. Now, what's the value of a glucose meter without the glucose test strips? You can't really test your blood, right, to see whether you're high or low with your blood sugar results. So that's how I think of it with this play out here with the Selectra device and the INO vaccine, because the biggest concern, for me, but without the news of, Department of Defense, supporting the company, was the fact that, these devices are devices, and it does take time for you to make it, right? But if you have the government supporting that, there's no problem there from a resource and capabilities perspective. Now, with the vaccine, right, I would just rely on, Inovio being, the company that's following the same process for 20 years. There's not much change going on, but the same ideas, the same thought process, the same scientific professionalism applied to this company. It will, demonstrate a quality INO 4800 vaccine. So, with the Selectra device being the delivery method and, the vaccine being effective, I think those two together will position mankind in a safer place to be in this world, right? And just looking from a value standpoint, looking at the current share price right now, Inovio Pharmaceuticals is hovering at around like the $21-22 range, at close to end of July. But according to Dr. Joseph Kim, once the phase 1 clinical trials data is released, he mentioned that a few weeks back. He noted that it will be released within a few weeks, so we're getting close to that time frame. I foresee that data to be released possibly by this business week or week 1 of August. And if it does go beyond that, then it may be week 2 of August. But that will mean that, Inovio Pharmaceuticals may get its run like the Novavax run and the iBio run. So, I would, consider, putting, an investment in Inovio Pharmaceuticals, so you don't feel that FOMO effect and not capitalizing on the gains when it does happen, right? So that's why, I'm a long-term investor with the company. I would hate to see myself not invested in there when the company does grow. So that's one of the reasons why, I just park my money there and just hope for it to continue to grow like the Regeneron numbers, right? And we know from an investment standpoint, right? I mean, us little small fish, we're investing in Inovio Pharmaceuticals by, just acquiring, X amount of shares. But when you look at large scale institutions, right, like Vanguard is actually a big time supporter of Inovio Pharmaceuticals. I feel like if a company like Vanguard invests in Inovio, then that just shows right there that the company is credible, right? And for those reasons, as a small little fish investor, I will continue to pursue that, right? And when you think about it, I mean, from just external support from different partnerships, you have the Bill and Melinda Gates, you have DARPA supporting, Inovio Pharmaceuticals, and you have, all different countries supporting Inovio. Like, for example, the animal studies occurring in Australia, the clinical trials occurring in South Korea. That's the first vaccine that's actually being studied right now in South Korea. And you have like studies in Scotland as well. So, I mean, a wide range of different, studies going on right now for the sake of, coming out with the safe and effective vaccine. But that doesn't exclude, other companies out there like Moderna, Novavax. When you look at Novavax, for example, right? I mean, most people tend to think, okay, this is a competitor of Inovio Pharmaceuticals. I think the opposite, because I feel like the two work in complementary, because, you have Novavax getting its run, but why is it that they're getting its run? It's because of their product in phase 3 clinical trials, and that's called the NanoFlu, intended to be used for the influenza virus. So that's different from the coronavirus. It's different. You can't use NanoFlu for patients who are affected with the coronavirus. So that's going to be a big dilemma, entering, the winter season this year as well as next year, when healthcare professionals in the hospital settings are having a difficult time, like diagnosing whether patients have influenza or is it COVID-19, COVID-20, and so forth, right? So, it's important to have all these vaccines readily prepared, right? But we want to make sure that, these companies deliver safe and effective vaccines. So when it goes through the clinical trials and the regulatory process, things are done right and correctly, and we want to make sure that if there are any detections of safety concerns, companies should be filing special modifications to their product so that there is a timely review process for health authorities as well, so that this speeds up the process for approving products the right way, and making sure there aren't any shortcuts being taken, and making sure that most importantly, the clinical investigators representing each company filing any adverse event reporting to the appropriate health authority. Okay, so there, I just wanted to end it there, and wanted to say thank you all for watching this video.